Hey folks, how's it going? Look at this view. Look at that. What a beautiful bridge. 1800s. I don't know the exact date. I haven't researched the bridge yet. Just the train crash that happened here. Oh, I hate walking through the woods during hunting season. You just never know. I guess it's a matter of time before some idiot shoots me. I'm wearing my yellow vest because orange vest is a requirement when you're hunting. I'm not hunting. I'm not hunting, I'm not fishing, I'm not trapping. That's not what I'm doing. So I use yellow. It's more of a construction color, hazard construction color, like, you know, worker, something like that. So hopefully these hunters see that. I don't like bright orange anyway. Ugh. Anyway, I've been doing more research on this site, on this train crash, and according to the photos, which there's only about 5 of them, and I'll include them right here, matter of fact. Okay, so you've looked at the photos. Well, the engine was laying right about where that the first pillar is, and there's a little archway right there. The engine was laying right there, the tender right there. The tender was actually flipped over towards the bridge, but as it was coming over, I bet you it lost a lot of its coal down here where I was finding it. Tons of coal right here. In the photo, one of the photos I was looking at, they actually made a ramp that goes up there, and that's how they got all their material out. Right here, in that spot, right at the edge of the woods right there, is where they piled up all the debris and stuff like that to be carted up and out of the way. All of this was trees. It was all forested in here, so they couldn't have gotten anything through this area. So when I saw one of the photos with a man with a shovel in his hand on a ramp, I knew right then what they had done. So anyways, we got a nice idea of how things happen around here. You see that? You see that right there? That's one of my old holes right there from yesterday, but an animal came and disturbed it. Digging around, probably smelt me, you know. So yeah, and you see they actually have a whole bunch of ballast stone right there right now, kind of mounded up. That's where the engine was right there. So this little cut right there wasn't a feature of where the engine landed. It actually landed where all that stone fill is right now. And that stone fill was actually cut down a lot more. It was dirt in here. It wasn't even stone. It looks like they just threw all that stone over when they were done using it. But the ramp came up right here, just like that. And all the debris was laid out right in here. Now, it looks like most of the bank over here has been washed out as well. So probably, most likely, most of the good stuff is going to be laying in the bottom of that creek, because they couldn't possibly have cleaned that up as well as they could have up here on the ground. So we'll have to wait for a warmer day with less water and get in that creek. But for now, I know that the passenger cars were laying right here, actually closer to the bridge, right about here, and it was flatter than this. So the soil has been added here a little bit. All this soil has been added. It's sloped down a lot more, and that makes sense. Pushing around these old carcasses of rail cars and stuff like that. So that's why my layer, we're gonna get to see a train go over this bridge. That's why my layer of accident site is so deep. Oh, we got one coming from this way. Oh, I sure hope it doesn't come over. Freight car. See how far of a drop that is. Anything would have been damaged beyond repair. Scary. Alright, I'm gonna start finding some treasure. Hopefully stuff that was lost out of these coach and first class cars. So, see ya. So I started my hunt today down in this little water washout. You see it? It goes down into the creek. Reason being is because I believe that's probably more original level as far as what I was finding when I was digging over there. A lot of this soil has been pushed around and moved. Matter of fact, in the photos, all of this was much flatter, and you could see it was just very disturbed. And look at the layer right there. Look how deep that is. That's got to be about 14 to 16 inches. And there's a big chunk of iron down in there with coal. See all the coal? That is our accident layer right there. So I'm going to work on this. It looks like a spring. If that could be one of the springs to the actual rail car or whatnot, that would be sweet. So let me dig that out and I'll show you. Now there's a better shot of it. That is not a coincidence. Again, having that coal in the same layer with an iron part in an accident scene where a tender spilled over, where all the coal came down and splattered all over the place, where all these rail cars laid. That is probably something that impacted into the ground and was missed when they were cleaning up this site. So unless they had metal detectors in 1891, which they did not, there's a nice big chunk of coal right there. Beautiful. And what I'll do with this coal is I'll just engrave on the front the accident, basically the date of the accident and where this was found. So it'll be a little token, and I'll probably give it to somebody for Christmas. Yeah, a lump of coal. Let's pull that. Okay, it's coming out. That's exactly what that is. That is a spring off one of the cars. That is not normal to find. These rail cars need these springs, so you're not going to just lose a spring going over this rail and it'll drop down here and embed itself. No, this takes an accident or something catastrophic like that for sure. And this is an entire spring to an 1891 rail car. Beautiful, beautiful find right there. It's going to be heavy, but I'm going to take this with me, restore it, and probably put a little plaque on it. Yeah, very nice. Moving on. Oh, that sun is coming up nice. Here's a big chunk of iron. Look at how damaged that is. It's broke on all sides. Again, I think this is part of the truck parts. Look at that. It's bent, and I don't think that's natural. Could be, I don't know. But it's broke off here. And it's broke off here. That hasn't been cut. That was broke. That's a big chunk right there. That's probably one of the parts to the trucks. The undercarriage, the wheel system, they're called trucks. Yeah. So, getting some big iron out of here. Lots of spikes and plates. You know, those could be left over from when the rail, all of the rail that was up there came down. Spikes and all and everything came down onto this property, laying on the cars. You can see in the photo people actually moving that rail out of the way. Yep, interesting. Alright, let's keep looking. Let's keep looking. Sheet metal. Now that's interesting. That could be part of the one of the cars. The sides or the roof or something. Yeah, it's odd to find sheet metal like that laying on a railroad. They just don't use this stuff unless it's on cars. So that's probably time period for sure. Now we got another piece of iron coming up. Oh, nice, way down in that accident layer level. This thing must be long. It's going way under. It doesn't want to come up. It's wiggly. Let's see if I can pry it. Oh, there we go. What's that? I don't know. Something interesting. Part of something, isn't it? This material on top is interesting too. Is that an old brake shoe? Maybe? I don't know. It's hard to tell. Anywho, we'll keep it and we'll try to identify it. See ya. The interesting thing about this spot that I have noticed all along here is there is a poured concrete foundation down there. I don't know if they did that for strengthening this system over here or if it's just leftover concrete, but it is a huge pad all in here, kind of like a ground stabilizer, and it's actually good because you know the debris can't go very far. Yeah, I had a signal in here. I didn't check my spoils pile yet, and I also didn't see the signal when I was digging, so let me look around, see if I can find it. I have to assume that signal was rebar in the concrete, because the signal was still going down into the concrete. I don't think they would have concreted this place over after the accident. I don't think they did that. I think the concrete is part of the bridge structure, and all they did was clean up the mess and throw some ballast stone down in here, and that's it. Of course, if there's rebar that far below, it's gonna kind of mess me up as far as digging for signals, because I think that's the second time it's happened where I hit concrete and I'm like, where's the object? Where's my target? Embedded in the concrete. So probably rebar. Yeah. Moving on. See? Do you see that? That is window pane That is window glass right there. What uses window glass on a railroad? Passenger cars? Yeah. I don't know if the locomotive had glass. Maybe they did. Side windows, maybe. I don't know. But this is where the second class car landed. So, probably glass to that. One of the windows. Small piece. Imagine it pretty shattered. Pretty decent, you know, decent shattering. Trying to find the signal. It's down there. It's probably another chunk of concrete with something in it. Rebar. I don't know. It's still going. I haven't found it yet. I'll show you when I find it. Well, it's not rail. It could be part of one of the cars. Or something they used to get the cars out, like a tow bar or something. I would say that's probably part of something. I don't know. It doesn't quite look like the age. There's some damage right there. No telling on that one. The age has kind of got me, although those look like the right kind of holes for an 1891 whatever. It could be a frame to a car, part to it. Yeah, you think maybe that was a handrail or one of the mechanism controls underneath the cars. They had steel rod for that, but it's kind of thin to be a handhold. That was laying half in, half out. Doesn't feel like rebar. It's hard to say on that one. Hard to say. If I had a fixture or something attached to the bottoms, then I would say yeah, definitely. But it's hit or miss. You just don't know what went to the accident until you find it in the actual accident layer, which is easy to detect. So I have a few pieces from the actual layer, and you've seen them because I've documented them. And you know, there's just so much stuff along the side of these railroads, and just tons and tons and tons of iron. But very interesting, this story. Well, I found some recent activity. Kids come down here, stuff like that, so I find aluminum, pop tops, all that trash, stuff like that. Just clearing my way through that. Of course, those give off some pretty decent signals, that kind of stuff, and it gets me all excited. It's like, oh, yay, an 1891 coin, or, you know, something like that. But silver coins, probably going to be very easy to detect in here amongst the iron. But the iron cannot be laying on top of it, or else you'll never hear that silver signal. So, just getting the iron out, the big iron. I'm in relic mode today, and let's see what comes up. Let's keep looking. Yeah, I want something very identifiable. If you look at the photo, one of the photos of the engine has a good shot of the engine laying up there on the side of the bank, right there. It's missing its top smokestack chute, and wherever that landed, I don't know. I doubt anything like that was buried into the ground. Mostly the big heavy iron objects or the small iron objects, stuff like that, even coins and jewelry. When the cars flipped over and smashed and fell apart, all that stuff could have went flying out, like that glass pane window could have went flying right out, especially when they were taking the cars apart. That stuff could have fell in nook and crannies and stuff like that inside the cars and fallen out and landed on the ground. In August of 1891, The photo in that shot, it looked a little wet. It looked a little mushy, especially down by the creek. So that stuff could have easily been mushed into the ground. So keep looking. Hopefully we find something very identifiable like that spring, because how else is a spring going to get here? They don't just repair these things on the side of the road. No, that's from the accident. That's identifiable. That's a legitimate part of this accident. So, alright, moving on. See ya. Just got a huge 80 tone. And look at this. That is like solid brass, it looks like. Let me grab my brush. Somewhere in here. There it is. It looks like, well, I don't know. I thought maybe a lock at first. But look at the patina on it. Let me try to get you situated. Sorry for all the movement. Look at the patina on that. And that says age. Maybe there's some writing on this or something. It's encrusted too. Interesting. Whatever it was, it's broke. That's heavy. That's a solid chunk of copper brass. Let me clean this up a little bit and I'll get back at you and show you. Look at the patina. Nice. Definitely 1890s. Yeah, I'd be curious to find out what something like that went to. That is solid brass. And that would have been on something. One of the cars, engine, something. I'm closer to where the tender would have been right there, flipped over next to that second pillar, and it would have spilled down here, but this would have been probably the baggage car area or second class car area. Very interesting. I don't know, but that is solid. They gave me a killer loud signal. Whew. Look at that. I mean, that broke. That was force that broke that. It didn't bend or anything. It just sheared. That's force. It looks like there's a symbol right there. Looks like there's something right there. Unless my eyes are deceiving. It might even be numbers. It looks like numbers stamped in the bottom of it, maybe. I'll clean that up real good and I'll give you a shot of it later. Moving on. See ya. I'm getting a nice 76 tone right here. And the engine would have been right there. The tender car here. Baggage car here. Second class car would have been right about here. So, it sounds like a coin, or my detector's reading buckle, which is normal for like a copper or a brass type signal in relic mode. You see anything? I don't. I don't like getting all my dirt in that Pachysandra, because the signals, if they're small, they fall in there and they're hard to find. Didn't sound that deep. Of course, an old copper coin would be hard to see in this soil. So, gotta look very carefully. And yeah, again, for all you pinpointer people, it's useless to use a pinpointer in an area like this. Look at all that coal. That's the accident layer. Alright, I'll take one more scoop out, and then we'll detect it. Let's see. Two more scoops, just to be sure. Alright, let's scan that real quick and see if we got it. Much deeper. Let me poke around in there, see what I find. Show you what I find. Alright, this hole is clear evidence of tender spillage. Look at all the coal right here. Tons of it. I don't think that's what I'm hearing, because coal usually doesn't give a coin sound signal. But that is the accident layer, see it? For sure. I'm not seeing it yet. Let me scan it again. Sounds like it's in the sidewall. I opened it up a little bit more, but definitely sounds like it wants to be in the sidewall even more. See anything fall out? Watch it just be a can. What's that? Rock. Alright, I'm gonna have to shut you off until I find this. It's an elusive one. As I suspected, it is a piece of iron way down there. In relic mode, it will sound off with a really good signal if it's a big chunk of metal. Iron. Look at how far down this is. This goes way more than 12 feet. That's probably about 14, 15 feet right there deep. And look at all the coal. That is the accident layer right there. So I'm going to try to dig that out and see what we get. Now, there we go. You can see all the coal up here. It's spread pretty much, quite a bit. This is a large chunk of iron, and it probably got embedded as the parts and pieces struck the earth down here. I'm going to have to dig more that way, try to get it out, so it's going to take a minute. It's got some kind of big old end on it too. Now there's a part that hasn't been seen in 124 years. Look at that. Maybe part of the tender. I don't know. It is in there. I can't even move it. It's not even budging. I don't know how large that piece is, how much I want to dig on it. Whew, let me keep digging some more. Luckily, it's not overly big. I think it's kind of channeled, so it has an L shape to it on the bottom. That's why it was stuck. Big chunk of coal just laying right there on top of it. What does that say? Definite accident site. Soil. Let's see if we can get this thing to move. Whew, that thing goes deeper. Much deeper. Yeah, it's a very large piece. This I got exposed over here on this end. But it comes out over here into a larger chunk. Kind of like a little drop like that into a bigger chunk, but then a huge steel plate. I don't know how far that steel plate extends. or what that part would have been. It's probably it's part of the truck system again, like I said. Something pretty massive. And this thing is not budging. Not an inch. That means there's a lot of it left down in there. Interesting, isn't it? I'm going to have to abandon this and leave it. But you see that that layer. I mean, it just spilled right here. All that coal and parts and pieces and everything right in this layer. That's some old coal. Yeah. It's too bad. I'd like to see what that looks like, but I'd have to tear out half this hill right here. And who knows how big it is. There could be more to it. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I had to dig or fill that hole back in. I know where that piece is. If I feel like digging all day, I'll do that. But I wanted to show you this piece that I just found. Look at how much damage is on this. This thing is just forcefully smashed and broke and split. Look at that. I'll probably save this piece, clean it up. Wow, that shows the destruction and the damage of this accident. I wanted to share with you what I just found, and what I found yesterday as well, but it was encrusted more and I couldn't tell what it was. But this one, I cleaned it up a little bit more and I can tell exactly what it is. Check it out. Do you know what that is? That's a rivet. That would have held something together, and it sheared right off. Just laying here. Popped right out. Massive, massive, massive force. That's a nice little relic right there of this train wreck. A rivet. I know it doesn't mean much as far as what it is, a rivet, but it's an 1800s iron rivet that was attached to this one of these rail cars, and it broke off. It's part of that history. It's a relic from that time period, that incident. Nice. See ya. Yeah, so in the cold weather times, which is my time, I'm a winter type person, born and raised in Syracuse, New York. Yeah, you know how it is. Love the cold. Doesn't bother me. But you always bring something warm to warm up the body when it's cold out. I have a theory on this Pachysandra. You see it? And like I told you yesterday, I find this stuff at pretty much every old home site. And I was checking my maps last night. There's no old home site in this area as far as my map back to 1910, which should have showed something. So, and it's odd that it's all right here. But you know what? It's a theory I had. I think this is a very iron-rich kind of plant. I think it thrives in high iron content soil, which this is high iron content soil, and probably wasn't like that before the accident, but because of all the iron that's in the ground right now, I mean, it is scattered and littered in here. This stuff just pops up, and it makes sense because at the old home sites, tons and tons and tons of iron, and the more iron areas that I find, the more I find this Pachysandra. So when you walk through the woods and you see this plant, rest assured it's probably sitting on a bed of iron. And iron is pretty much man-made stuff. I don't know if it grows on iron ore deposit. It probably does, but more likely the iron that's kind of old and in the ground and, you know, going through its process. So something interesting to note for your metal detecting adventures or hunting adventures or whatever y'all do. I hope you're hunters too, like me. and go out and find these sites and document them and, bring that history back. So, alright, well, my detector's still way over there, and that is where the first class car sat. So, was that rivet from the first class car? Maybe. Yeah. Anyways, I'm going to get back to it after I have some hot cocoa. See ya. Beautiful 70 signal that I'll share with you. You can dig it up with me. Hope it's not a modern bottle cap or can, but just might be. I don't know. Didn't sound too deep. Sift through it nice and easy and see. That's the layer I want right there, that nice old layer below the topsoil. If we're in there, we could be onto something here. Maybe non-ferrous. Just gonna have to scoop this out and hit it with the detector. So I'm not seeing it. Alright. Let's see if we can find it. Nice signal. But that's mixed in with the topsoil. Yep, there it is. In the topsoil. What do we get? A Bud Ice. Oh, how impressive. Fancy. Alright, moving on. I got a 5-inch deep iron kind of sounding signal. Let's see what we get. Oh, I gotta get another shovel. My handle broke on my nice shovel that I like, so I'm stuck using this one. What is that round thing? A tree nut? Iron's usually easy to spot because it leaves rust deposits. This is the soil layer we want right there. Another nut. Deeper? Clay. Nice, we're into the clay. That means oil or older stuff. It didn't sound that deep. 5 inches? We're gonna have to check that. I'll be back at you in a minute. Well, detector says it's in here. Not in that one. Not in that one. Huh. Where are you at? Could be small. Alright, I'm gonna have to recheck it. It's a pretty decent signal. It's kind of like a button signal. Got moved over here. I got it, whatever it is. It's not giving a great tone. Yeah, it's gone now. It's not giving a great tone every time you drop it. Do you see it? God, that thing must be small. I did find a little tiny screw, which was equally difficult to find. That's it right there. Little tiny piece to something. That's how sensitive this detector is. No telling what that is. Probably part of a can or something. 5 inches deep. I know. That's why I love this detector in relic mode. If it's there, it'll find it. Let's keep looking. A nice little 12 signal, which is in the button. In the button range. Right there. Alright. Let's grab the shovel and dig that up. 12 is usually in the button range, shotgun shell range. If it is a button, that would be great. It's probably just another piece to that. Whatever little piece of metal I found over there was. Boy, that almost looked like it was worked. Doesn't it? Like a mini blade. I'll save it. Take a closer look at it later. Not seeing anything. Gonna have to check it again. Alright, let me find this. Get back at you. Yeah, just part of an old can, it looks like. Nothing to the wreck. Pretty nice signal. High 70s. Usually represents copper or brass. Or something to that effect. But in relic mode, like I said, it could be a nice relic, a chunk of iron. Something like that. Check for bottle caps in that topsoil. I don't know if that's a stone or a bedrock. It looks like concrete. Oh, maybe it is stone. I don't know. Limestone. Let's see if our signal's in there somewhere. Hopefully it's not below that. sounds like it might be here in the sidewall. I hope. Oh, that wasn't as big as I thought. Oh, if that's our objects underneath that, that'll be nice. Let's check it. Ooh, it's in there. Oh, sounds like iron now. Well, sounds like a can. And that was down there. That's how much soil washes away erosion. What is it? I don't know. Garbage. Oh, that's very interesting. Some kind of rod with something going through it. Or some kind of round end piece. I would say that's definitely from the accident site. There's no telling what that is, though. Look at all the iron I've got so far. Lots of it. Now, I don't normally come to a railroad place and start digging up tons and tons of railroad iron. I mean, I know what to expect when that happens. I'm just picking up the pieces because most of the time I don't walk over here, I just toss it and they get scattered. But anyway, yeah, I don't come looking for this stuff naturally. I mean, this is specific. This is accident site stuff. It has to be specific, you know. Geez, I don't need a ton of iron. I already got plenty. Okay. Well, that piece came right out of this wall right here, and this is where a car would have been laying. Right across the creek. Caboose would have been right up there, just like that. Baggage car, or I mean the private car was in the creek. First class passenger car probably would have been here. Second class baggage tender engine. From what I can tell from the wreckage, and you know, being from the railroad, fourth generation railroader, my great grandfather was out there on steam engines, and you know, I know a little bit about trains and stuff like that, but not all the parts and pieces. But the consist is how these trains are made up. You have to have these trains made up a specific way. And you can't usually put a baggage car towards the rear because the baggage car has a lot of weight normally. So you'll stick that up in front with the engine and the tender. And the baggage cars are usually beat up, and you want that to be one of the first cars. And plus, you know, the more prestigious, I guess, rich customers would be towards the rear of the train because of all that smoke and steam and stuff like that. The closer you are to the engine, the louder it is, and the more smoke and debris and gook and stuff like that gets out on you. So they put the better class of people, supposedly, which is ridiculous, towards the rear, and the lesser fortunate people up closer to the engine. Anyways, I'm just working my way back along this train towards the rear of it. And this creek, like I said, I'm going to have to hit that some other day. It is just too cold. I suspect that rail laying right there is part of the old wreck as well. And I also saw another piece of iron sticking out in the creek. Yeah, there it is. It's sticking out of the bank, kind of right there. That's probably also a piece of the crash. So there's stuff in the creek. The harder stuff to get. I imagine they would have went in the creek to try to get stuff out, but probably only the bigger stuff, and they might have been feeling around with their feet, but they're gonna miss tons of stuff like they did up here in the ground. Out of sight, out of mind. You know, so alright, let's keep rolling. See ya. So, I think that's gonna do it for me today. Matter of fact, I probably won't come back. I think I got the story told pretty well. I think we found some relics of this site. I think we documented enough. You know, I didn't find anything precious, but then again, most of this topsoil here is erosion that's settled. That layer down there is more original. The hard packed stuff, it might have had a few inches of topsoil on it when the train hit. But this stuff here all washed down for the past 124 years. So depth is an issue for finding small non-ferrous objects. But I wanted to show you something. A theory I have. Let me lay them out here. Okay. And let me know what you think about that. Okay. Got a lot of these spikes. Alright. There we go. Jeez, I keep finding more and more. Alright, I dug a lot of spikes. Alright, check these out. And I'll tell you the story, well, my theory, and you let me know what you think. Check it out. Anyways, you have long spikes and you have short spikes. Now, I don't know if these long spikes were used back in 1891. I'm sure they were. I don't know if these were actual spikes to this site. I have to imagine they probably were. I imagine all of this stuff was. And it all came down. Now, people could have pitched these over through the years, but when iron turns black like that, that says it's very old. It has some age. Now look at these little tiny spikes. Were these the original spikes to the rail, or were these the original spikes to the rail? And if these were not the original spikes to that rail up there, then what were they used to? What were they used for on whatever? That's not natural to come out like that. That took a lot of force to bend that. A huge amount of force. And imagine the spike went in that way. Interesting. I don't know. But got another chunk of something here. No idea. And a chunk of something here. Maybe they went together. Maybe they didn't. I don't know. But there's a lot of broken, I mean, just completely broken stuff. That looks like a hinge of some kind. Bracket hinge or something like that. That is part of the rail that sheared off when the wheels cut into them. I've seen that plenty of times. And these big bolts, I don't know if they were rivets or just bolts. This one has threads on it. Were they used for the cars? And giant nuts. This is not a nut and bolt type of bridge. This is solid stone, solid concrete. So where would they use these giant nuts and bolts with rivet ends? And I believe these two would go together. That's pretty massive. Probably held something together. Matter of fact, here's one right here. And look at the age on that. That to me says 1891. We have that part. See the iron? That also says 1891. And a lot of these spikes are damaged. So there are a lot of pieces unrecognizable that definitely went to something. Now, but I'm keeping that spring for sure. That's a good talkative piece for the war room or the relic room, whatever you want to call it. Square nuts, lots of square nuts, lots of chunks of iron. There's another large rivet type square nut bolt. Yeah, tons of that. Another square nut. Another spike. So this is, to me, definitely part of the wreck. That is definitely part of the wreck. This is definitely part of the wreck. And the rest of the stuff, I don't know. I have to assume it is. But you saw me digging this stuff up. You saw where the layer was, the accident site layer, in that coal layer over here by the tender. Now, I was able to reach that depth on some of these towards the passenger car area, and you know, like the spring and this thing. So I think the depth is about 12 inches deep where it starts, the accident layer starts in most of the areas around here. So that's pretty deep. That's a lot of soil on top of it. So anyways, I hope y'all enjoyed this little adventure video to tell this story, and you know, just kind of remember what happened here. Remember how important it is to not take spikes from a railroad track, because something like that could happen. Yeah. Anyways, I gotta haul this stuff out probably about a mile that way. I parked in the woods today, so hope I don't get shot by a hunter. Thanks for watching.